welcome back to the Messed Up Movies Podcast, the podcast celebrating movies and filmmakers that embrace the insane, the outrageous, the unhinged, the off-kilter, the immortal, and the all-around kind of messed up fun you will never take your eyes off. There can be only one sequel to the Highlander. That's not true. There's actually a ton of sequels to the Highlander. Yeah,
and a TV
There's at least 4 Highlander movies and a USA TV series that had tons of immortals that did not get the invite to the gathering. All right. I'm your host, Griffey, joined as always by friend and co-host Dandino.
Hello.
A little bit of business before we start today's pod. Please go to the Messed Up Movies Podcast Patreon page. This December 2025, this month is programmed entirely from picks from our patrons, right? This is our stocking stuffer curation month. The first movie we're talking about today, given to us by friend Nick Brendlow, Highlander 2. He first wrote a long and very interesting dissertation.
This is really important of why this ends up being Highlander 2, because the original request, I think, is perfect.
Yeah, so he wrote a long thing saying he would love us to talk about Wes Anderson, right? The fables of Wes Anderson, the movies of Wes Anderson. I believe he finished the message with, but I know Griffey hates Wes Anderson, so my backup pick is Highlander 2, which we immediately pounced on. So yeah, this month programmed by our patrons. Go to Messed Up Movies Podcast Patreon, right? We have a Creep Tapes miniseries. We've got all kinds of fun miniseries, Patreon exclusive episodes. You get to help us decide what becomes this show. It's the best way to support the show, help us grow. And this month, you get to pick the movie specifically you want to hear. That would help us out a ton. Go to Indiegogo, type in Mr. Cream Jeans, because we've been shadow banned. You can get the perk where you can join this very podcast to talk about anything you want. Movie news. You can do a film festival draft with me, Dandino, Heath, Sam, Sophia, whoever you want. We'll make that happen if you help our first movie happen. We are so very close to the finish line. We will have the last day of shooting done eventually. We're close. Help us out. Also, make sure you go to YouTube, subscribe to Misfit Parade. We're also on TikTok, Instagram, all the good stuff. Speaking of all the good stuff, Alex, Highlander 2, our movie today. So this is not news to anyone who likes the show. My favorite movie of all time is Highlander. In this very office, I have 2 Highlander posters. Mm-hmm. Every year on my birthday, I watch Highlander. I have the soundtrack. I listen to the Queen score all the time.
Of course.
I love Highlander. It is, to me, this perfect blend of movie magic. It's campy. It's original. It's fun.
Sure.
Transition game strong. Connor MacLeod is this bizarre performance that just is etched in everyone's mind.
It's great. It's great.
And McGruff, the crime dog, flasher jacket. It's just a really cool movie. Love that movie. To me, it captures this whole generation of my life where I just loved movies, and this was one of the silliest favorite ones I ever saw. In the podcast studio upstairs, where we do the Monday shows, I have a giant theatrical poster of Highlander 2. It's kind of like they're doing the weird buddy cop pose where it's Ramirez and MacLeod back to back. There's a sword and a glider guy. Mm-hmm. I have not watched Highlander 2 in a minute. It's been a while. When I was young, I thought this movie fucking ripped. I was like, what a great sequel. Watching it again today, I get why this is one of the most legendarily shit upon movies of all time. But I must say, my love for it has not waned. There's a bizarre melodrama watching this movie. It is kind of a odd. It's trying really hard to have bigger new ideas while also trying to beat for beat remake the original, which is insane. And there's something about just watching people die in the opulence they thought they deserved. Mm-hmm. That is fascinating to watch in this movie. What did you think, Alex, watching Highlander 2 today?
I've never watched this movie. In case that wasn't obvious. You know, there's some movies you sit there and you're like, oh man, this is not good. I'm going to have to sit through this, aren't I? And you're just like, all right, well, I'll do this for the pod. You know, I've done it a few times for these kinds of movies. Then there's other movies, and this is where I would count The Quickening. There's other movies where you sit there and you're just like, this isn't great. I am just going to let this wash over me, though. Like, whatever is about to happen in this movie, I'm not going to assign logic, reason, methodology, storytelling techniques, anything to it. I'm just going to let whatever's happening happen. And we'll get to why I thought that at what moment, because it happens pretty early in the movie. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to say, actually, we were sitting there. I was watching it with Andrea last night and was like passively watching, she was like passively watching it. And she noticed at one point, I was just like, kind of like, look, I'm a modern film viewer in my home. She noticed at one point I picked up my phone now because I like to read. Sometimes I try to read the plot just because I'm like, am I wrong? Maybe I'm missing something. And I was reading it, and she looked at me, and she goes, "You're a bad movie watcher, aren't you?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "You're not watching this movie." I was like, "Hey, you watch this movie, and then you try to judge me on this kind of shit."
Yeah, tell me you don't need a Cliff Notes for this movie, goddammit.
But that is my summation before we really launch into this. Where do you start with this?
Well, let's start here. The first one had this classic, "There are immortals among us," right? This kind of Sean Connery reading us the lore of the movie we're about to watch. You're like, cool.
Yeah.
This movie takes a bit of a different tact. We get more of the Terminator 2. The biggest difference in this is that Highlander became, instead of this kind of magical feud, right, that has lasted over the centuries in the world we live in.
Yeah.
This took a much more Terminator 2 approach. So it's kind of one of those, like when you saw episode 1, and it's like, trade federation deals are falling apart, and there's blockades, and you're like, what? This one starts with, the Earth's ozone layer has been scorched, and you go, what is that? How do we fix that with sword fighting? I'm confused. And it starts this kind of science fiction expose about the shield has been put up around the Earth. There's this blue glistening, like, Tron-looking shield.
Yeah.
That now covers the Earth to save us from UV rays because people were dying because the sun was killing us, right?
This is 91. Do you remember? I remember talking about this when I was in school.
When we were in elementary school, yes, it was this and acid rain.
Deal. This and acid rain, we were like, holy shit, we could get killed by the Earth.
That was our version of hiding under our desk to save us from nuclear bombs. Yeah. That's what we were really afraid of.
The hilarious thing is most science is like, oh yeah, the ozone pretty much healed itself. We're all good. It's like, wow, there's like 10 movies about the ozone layer that just like are fucking wasted.
Yeah, because of the fucking hairspray everyone was using in the 80s, Aquanet ate a hole in the ozone and we had to recover it. Kind of like if you do Zins and your teeth start to hurt. That's what we did to the ozone layer. But it starts with this ozone thing and you're like, all right, this is a bizarre place to start. We start doing this push-in, right? You can immediately tell, you're like, ooh, there's money in this movie, baby. They go to the opera, right? And they're in this opera house that still has like plastic, like construction plastic, painting plastic everywhere. You're like, okay, so it's kind of still shitty, but it's an opera.
Yeah, little dystopian,
people are
just
singing.
a touch. Yeah.
And this to me might be the image of the movie. Our hero pushing, right? We have this giant crane shot, right? Pushing us up to Connor MacLeod in the booth. When we see him, he's fallen asleep during the opera. He's in this booth watching the opera. His chair's not facing the stage, and he's asleep. And then he wakes up, he's like, ugh! He starts watching the opera and immediately falls into these Vietnam-style flashbacks of probably the thing that I think most people took umbrage with this movie. So, the immortals are not magical people among us who are touched by this energy, this connective energy of the quickening, right? You'll remember him and Ramirez about to run on the beach, where their tits start engorging with air as they breathe in the life forces around us. They see the noble stag and can use his energy to run fast down the beach, right? There was a mystical energy, right, that kind of connected us all. When Connor MacLeod won the quickening in part 1, he said now he could hear everyone. He was connected to everyone's minds and hearts. Mm-hmm. He could also grow old, he could die, and he could finally father children, which I'm guessing he didn't do, because we see Barbara, or whatever her name is from part 1, is now a fucking Krispy Kreme in the fucking Burnwood, right? Neither here nor there.
Krispy Kreme.
This movie takes the point that we all of a sudden cut to this far-off planet, this planet Zeist, right?
Okay, hold on.
And there's an underground meeting where Ramirez is like, I am not your leader, but there's a leader among us. And you're sitting there and you're going, what is this community theater Dune we're doing? What is happening?
Stop right here.
Okay.
I swear to God, I paused the movie and I'm like, holy shit. Whatever copy is available on Amazon Prime is fucked up. Because we skipped a whole thing because now we're on like, I'm like, are we in Egypt? or there's some strange things in the background, like no prompting whatsoever. Because so the one that's on Amazon Prime is the Renegade version, which apparently is the preferred cut.
This was, our attempt to save Highlander 2 is the Renegade cut.
Swear to God, no provocation whatsoever. I was like, oh, is this the past? Or is this the future? Because it is like community theater Dune. And you're just like, what's going on? I couldn't really tell. This was the moment in this movie where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sit back and relax. Just let this movie happen.
Welcome to the Ball State Community Players version of Dune. And Ramirez is at the top, and he's like, we need a leader, and it's not me. And we look out in the crowd, and in the crowd is a young Connor MacLeod sitting there. And it immediately begs 5,000 questions. Why are we in Dune? Why do they have accents? Like, what's going on here? Why are these things the way they are? And then they do this very weird, like, I remember there's a couples thing that you're supposed to do that Amy and I saw online, and we're like, we'll do this to see if we can do it. You're supposed to sit crisscross applesauce and hold each other's hands and just look at each other, just stare at each other, right? Without breaking eye contact, just stare at each other and kind of drink in each other's souls. We might have made it 5 uninterrupted seconds without laughing at how stupid this was.
Yep.
And we've been together for ages, right? It's just like a silly thing. That's what Ramirez and MacLeod do. And he puts this little, like, fucking henna tattoo that turns golden. It's like the Hun Moon from K-pop Demon Hunter.
Yeah.
That's what's covering the earth. And then
there's a real like K-pop Demon Hunter thing.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, we're bonded in a way that can never be unbroken, Highlander. And it's like, why is he a Highlander? What's happening?
Why is he a Highlander? Why isn't he whatever?
There's another thing I can't get over in this opening. It's just like there are things happening in this movie they couldn't. People obviously hated being on this movie because it starts off and he goes, Ramirez is like, this is also the last day. We'll be under the yoke and boot of General Katana, right? And so they start anointing MacLeod the thing. They do their fucking Soul Sisters routine, right? Yeah. Where they like bond their souls. And then someone in the crowd immediately goes, Colonel Katana's here. Like he just got multiple military demotions since the last scene of dialogue. He went from General Katana to Colonel Katana, like he's in Clue. And then out of nowhere, he just becomes Katana, which is like kind of a cool Sting name, right? Like he's in a musician band, which the cabbie brings up. So what we find is that on this planet, they're just kind of feudal warlords, right? They kind of live like 40K orcs. They just live for fighting and destroying each other. When you're caught, somehow Colonel or General Katana still exist under the yoke of this religious order. These 3 guys in fucking togas who have swords, and they go, you've been punished for being anti our society. You guys are terrorists. Here's your punishment. We're going to send you to the future on another planet. You will be forced and compelled to battle each other in a sword fight for the ages. You will cut each other's head off. Somehow, I guess part of the punishment is you get to absorb their powers, right? When you cut all your friends' head off, you just get to live and have babies and fuck mortal women from another species, right? It's like,
and this is
what?
This is the benefit of making this decision this early in the movie to just like, you know what? I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm just going to sit here and just sit back and relax. I don't remember any of that. I don't remember any of these, like, any of these qualifications, any of these pieces of, like, importance within the story. I'm like, they're aliens now. They're going to show up on Earth. I'm just going to sit here and watch. I think Michael Ironside's about to show up.
Yeah.
All good.
Here's the weird thing is it feels like the other movies kind of get away from this mythology.
Yes.
But this mythology seems to be a crucial part to me of making the TV show work. Because you're like, why were there so many immortals that did not get called to the gathering? In part 4, I believe it's this ancient Chinese sorcerer, Mako, maybe was his name. And he was like buried in a cave. So you're like, all right, that guy couldn't get out. Then there's Mario Van Peebles. You're like, all right, whatever. It just feels like we're trying to apologize and do a made-for-TV apology for Highlander 2. But in the TV show series, Adrian Paul, which Sam told me they're friends on Facebook, Sam and Adrian Paul, and that he still makes bank. As Sam said it, he's still making tons of money teaching sword fighting classes at local YMCAs or whatever. But that was Duncan MacLeod.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know that Sam is a reliable news source.
Him and Seagal.
Yeah. They're doing demos like they're in fucking fist foot way. Can't even hold a board right, eh?
Can't even hold a goddamn board straight.
Right. So they have this whole vast mythology.
Yeah.
Seems like an odd punishment. We don't know who these religious people are or why. Katana seemingly is underneath of them because he goes, priest. And they get sent to the future, right? So what happens is we cut back at one point to Zeist, where Connor MacLeod has won the game. He's the last one there. And Katana sends these two guys that are birds. I guess some of the species are like bird-like, to go kill Connor MacLeod. Because when you are defeated on Earth, in your moment of death on Earth, you have two options, right? Which is, one, you can stay, or two, you get to come back to Zeist. This part's always been a little fuzzy on me. What Katana wants is for them to come back to Zeist so he can fucking chop their heads off.
Right.
Apparently, he also can do a political, bureaucratical roundabout on the priest and send assassins to go try to murder old man MacLeod, who just got hit with a bottle by this fucking massive woman who's like, you done ruined my life. Everything's shit. It's your fault, MacLeod. And she fucking hits him with a bottle. The terrorist from the terrorist organization Cobalt, played by Virginia Madsen, has now also found him because she's a terrorist trying to destroy his work, but also believes he's a good guy. Like, he's a Tony Stark type now, right?
Sure.
These guys try to kill him, these birds.
Yeah.
When he kills the first bird, right, he fucking knocks this guy off the train because he's an old man sword fighting across the entire vast set that they built for this. This has Mortal Kombat level sets that they fight in this movie.
Right.
When the thing's head gets chopped off by the train wheels, Connor MacLeod's like, ah! All of a sudden, a giant fucking gas tanker with big Rocky Horror Picture Show lips slides up to him. Boom! It explodes. And who walks out from the fire but young, hot Christopher Lambert is reborn Connor MacLeod. And it's one of these, there's so much in this first, 30 minutes. You're like, there's so much new stuff, and you're trying to square it with the old stuff. And I think that's the moment when young, hot Lambert walks out, who's probably 42 in this movie. When he walks out of the fire, you as an audience have to decide, how much do these fucking impossible to bend read bars of fucking foundational lore do I care about, or am I just excited to see another sword fighting Highlander movie?
There's a I agree, because I agree that is really the crux of the argument for this movie. There's I have a lot of I have a DVD set of Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah.
There's just one that is called The Girl in Gold Boots. It's really bad. But there's a line I always use when I'm watching movies like this, that I can't remember which one of the characters says it, but when they're watching the movies, apparently the plot of this film is none of our business. And that's sort of how I feel about The Quickening a lot of the time when I'm watching it. It's like, you know what? That's none of my business. I'm just going to watch this and enjoy the sword fighting immortals. That's fine. I don't care. This is why it's okay. I think this is look, wasn't going to win an Oscar or anything like that. I don't give a shit about that. It rewrites a lot of lore that I thought was perfectly fine already. You didn't have to go any further than that. But yeah, I do like how the beginning of this movie is this. It's a really simple gauntlet test for anyone who wants to watch a Highlander movie. Just listen, do you want to watch a Highlander movie, or do you want to sit here and talk about plot points? It's well, you got me there, my friend. I am going to sit here and watch a Highlander movie, I think, because I do not feel like getting into whatever's going on here. Yeah, I just want to watch.
It's this thing, right, where the first one had very simple rules. They're immortals. They can only die when their head gets chopped off. You gain their power. You are all summoned to the gathering. You're compelled. You can't not go.
You can't.
But even in that movie, right, Ramirez and him don't fight. His friend, when they had the famous duel scene, they don't fight. Yeah. So some of them can still choose not to fight, even though they're compelled to. When they're the last two, maybe they will. There's a lot of stuff where it's such a simple setup, and the movie never gets in the way of that. It's these are the rules. Don't ask a lot of questions, right? They went in to the dungeons, right? Somewhere in the dungeons, they found the most intricate dungeon master in the world. And they said, take this simple lore and expand it, you fucking giant nerd. Make this the nerdiest movie ever that will explain and totally fix everything in Highlander, right? It'll give it. This is the exact opposite. This is the elevator pitch versus the 45-minute pitch deck where the guy brings a fog machine and a laser light and he's in a costume, right? And he's like, you're going to love this, I promise. Yeah. That's the difference in this movie. The first one said, don't worry about it. Sword fighting and Queen songs, right? This one says, but we need to overly explain everything. And at one point, there's a point when Connor MacLeod, now young, gets on a fucking hoverboard. Like he's Marty McFly Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
They are flying around this massive... The sets in this movie are incredible. They are flying around this city. I mean, how long do you think that scene feels? And I was shit-faced when I watched this last night. That scene felt like it was 15 minutes long of them just hovering. I'm
going to tell you right now, the hoverboard scene is about as long as the scene of him and Ramirez getting shot while driving through the like security checkpoint or whatever.
That scene was great.
But
they
like,
just get sunnied. Yeah.
Like for like 10 minutes. I was like, Jesus Christ, how many times can an immortal person get shot before it's like, all right, one went through his head. That's the end of it.
Yes, we can both agree the Renegade cut needed more cutting, right? Cut these scenes down, Judd Apatow.
I think that, I mean, you know, look, there's hoverboards and there's a weird guy running around trying. I mean,
did you wish Willem Dafoe was floating more in Spider-Man? Highlander 2, The Quickening.
Highlander 2, The Quickening. Like that guy. Also, his death is like so unceremonial when it happens. I'm like, all right, well, that's the end of that scene, I guess. Like, there's a lot of those kinds of like endings to certain sequences, which is like, and now that's the end of that scene, and that's the end of that scene. You're like, oh, great.
It felt like by the time we got to Katana's demise, they're just like, we're done. This is like, because that scene is like 30 seconds. It's like
at
5
best.
lame sword fighting moves, and then it's just over. You're like, what? But the early parts of the movie, they are willing to sit in these. And this is the moment as a fan, I just was like, well, okay. This isn't exactly like I want. Again, I think of this a lot with the prequels, where it's just like this overly explained kind of dumb addition to something you liked. And there are just scenes, it's like the pod racing scene. You're like, yeah, this is just fucking cool, man. Darth Maul's just fucking cool. Like, I have to find joy in this. I'm a movie viewer. I'm choosing to give my time to this thing. I have to find a way to make this entertaining for me, whether that's making fun of it, whether that's just sitting in the opulence of it, whatever. Connor MacLeod wins both the fights, right? He gets, and he gets all the electricity, blows out every window in the vicinity.
Yeah.
He goes over and gets Virginia Madsen out of the dumpster he told her to hide in. He's like, go in there, terrorist, hide in the dumpster. She's like, okay. He comes out and sees her. They just immediately start fucking on the sidewalk.
Yeah, wow.
And as a fan, I just went, yep.
Yeah.
This is it. I'm into this. I'm going to decide to be into this.
At no point in this movie, if you get past the like flashback of Zeist and the rebellion and all this shit, if you get past that and you're still working on like, I got to get the plot, I got to get my handle around. If you're doing that, I think you're watching the wrong movie. Like you are really kind of like
definitely watching the wrong movie. Yeah.
Like you're just not, you're focused on the wrong pieces of the story as the story exists. Because again, like it's just almost unimportant. Like, okay, and bear with me for a second. I think a lot of sequels. Now, granted, there's some sequels that, you know, Empire Strikes Back's one. Like a lot of there's some sequels that deepen the lore, deepen the mythology, actually move the story forward. Fine, that's fine. There's also a lot of sequels that just want to redo the first movie again with a couple extra added hits. You're like, yeah, it makes sense. It's fine. I don't care. Doesn't bother me at all. I don't give a shit about any of that. That's okay too. If you want to sit there and do that, that's fine. But what you cannot do is sit there and be like, well, that was a terrible sequel. It was just a repeat of the first one. I'm like, did you expect Highlander 2, The Quickening, to do that much more than the first one did? Like, the first one is so good. I wasn't expecting anything else. Like, again.
Well, yeah. Would you prefer a just simple, they're redoing the exact movie we saw in the first one, now with no fucking immortals? Connor MacLeod cleaned house, we thought, in the first one. What's the story? This movie is guilty of two things to me, right? I can totally concede to people. I'm not telling you this is a great, perfectly crafted tale.
Not even close.
I'm telling you, I enjoy spending more time with Connor MacLeod, with the sword fighting, with the immortals, with Ramirez, right? If this movie's guilty of two things to me, one, it wants to add all these new ideas. The biggest sin of the movie to me is that it is trying to force these big new concepts into an almost beat-for-beat remake of the first one. Just get rid of that. We don't need that. We don't need Katana joining the board of the Shield. Like, why is he doing that? Because Kurgan did that, right? Because Kurgan went in and, you know, was in the church and all. Like, there's just these beats where you're like, it feels exactly like Highlander 1, but just dumber all the time. Don't do that. The other sin of this movie, while I think Sean Connery is fucking fantastic in this movie, this is one of the most fun Sean Connery performances. The turning Ramirez into essentially the Jar Jar Binks / Willow of this movie, I had forgotten how offensive that was to a fan of Highlander 1. That, just him walking around just being stupefied by reality and just saying shithead like he's Brendan Fraser in Encino Man.
Yeah.
There is a real fucking disrespect that they put on fucking Ramirez's many, many names, right? The opening when he just appears out of lightning in the fucking, what is the play they're in, Hamlet?
No, I don't know what that is.
He's talking to a skull. It's some kind of Shakespeare, right?
What?
He's talking to a skull. The guys are on stage. I don't know what the play is. I'm not a play person.
You're talking about the opera that they're watching?
No. When Ramirez emerges in the production.
Yeah, I think it's Hamlet. I think.
Yeah. He's like talking to whoever, Horatio or whatever, the skull. And then out of nowhere, Ramirez just appears. And this guy's like, what's your problem, shithead? And he's kind of dunking on him. And he's like, I bid you farewell. He takes a prop sword. He goes immediately from there to walk down the street. He sees himself on security cameras. And he's like, whoa. And then he goes in and gives a fucking pearl earring, which somehow just manifested his riches. They have pearls on his eyes. Whatever this is, he emerges and he goes into the suit. They do a long montage of him getting suited up, drinking a scotch, and someone like pulls the thing on his neck too tight. He's like, oh. And I was like,
there's a lot of
what
those.
Is this?
It's just, okay. Okay. You were right. It is a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. One of the rare 0%. Roger Ebert, when he was alive, still watched this. He gave it a 0.5 stars out of 4. And he said, Highlander 2: The Quickening is the most hilariously incomprehensible movie I've seen in many a long day. A movie almost awesome in its badness.
Yes.
This is Ebert. I always Ebert usually is able to hit the nail on the head. Wherever science fiction fans gather in decades and generations to come, this film will be remembered in hushed tones as one of the immortal low points of the genre. If there is a planet somewhere whose civilization is based on the worst movies of all time, Highlander 2: The Quickening deserves a sacred place among their most treasured artifacts. But see, that's what it is. Awesome in its badness. That's I think what we're getting at here is like,
yes.
Ultimately, yeah, you could hate on it. You could shit on a movie that's just like not really making many attempts to do anything other than repeat the first one, and then also John McGinley's in it. Which, by the way, oh my God. Okay, this is actually something that I miss from older movies. When people got thrown out of windows and it was clearly a mannequin, like a doll. The arms were like the arms and legs were always floppy and unnaturally like falling off. Like I miss those so much. And whenever I see him in movies, like it happened when Katana pushes him out the window. When it happens in movies now, I'm like, oh man, I love that.
Great. I'm into that.
That's so much fun. Like I like that kind of stuff. And Highlander 2 has an inordinate amount of like special effect things from the 90s that I just. Yes, it's not it's not the greatest movie I've ever watched, but fuck, man, it's still like, it is a good turn your brain off thing. You're just like, I'm just watching this, man.
So here's a microcosm of so bad it's awesome. When Ramirez is in the plane, and it looks like that old Twilight Zone with the gremlin on the wing, right?
Yes.
And he's kind of looking out the window. He's like, how do we stay in the air, right? He looks over. He watches a training video on the airplane.
Yeah.
It's like, put your mask on if this happens. And it ends with, it's like the worst RoboCop vignette, right?
Yeah.
The plane crashing into the side of a mountain, which they can't survive from. And it's one of those moments you're like, that's so stupid. That is never something that would exist in any reality. But Connery sells the reaction, and it's kind of funny, right? Then the lady comes up, and he's trying to fucking drop game on this lady he's sitting next to. He's like, everyone knows the Ravenhead beauties were the best. Right? And this lady hands him some food. He goes, I never eat anything I can't identify. And then he looks over at the lady next to him, and he's like, but I make exceptions. And he whispers in his ear, like, I'll eat your pussy. And I was just laughing, and I was like, this is the most Jar Jar setup. but somehow Connery is crushing this scene,
Dude,
and it all works, right? And then when he pops into Connor MacLeod's apartment, they're about to finger again on the couch, and he goes, "Go upstairs," and she's like, "Not again." And Ramirez just pops out, and they start sword fighting, right?
Dude.
No, not the sculpture. And he goes, "You call that a sculpture?" And they keep sword fighting and then talk about the plan. And I was like, now we're in the movie I wanted the whole time.
There's so many of those. Yeah, that's the movie I want. Like, I don't care about anything that goes on in the movie. I don't care about the ozone layer. I don't care about the protective shield. Any of this extra shit they added in the movie. I want that the whole time. Like, it is this strange thing. Maybe in the 90s was just like this particularly special moment where we all thought we needed a more complicated, incomprehensible thing than we needed. I think that a simple through line for a movie, there can be only one. Okay, got it. There's only one that's allowed, and you gotta cut their head off, and then you get the power. Cool, great. I can get behind that. No problem. That's an easy one. I'm totally understanding of that. I think a simple through line, a simple story, a simple plot, and then you just pepper in extra shit. That's fine. That is the way you're supposed to write a movie. I think that this is like one of those this is one of those situations where, and again, we read that there was like 5 drafts before they actually got to a place where they were actually willing to admit that this was like a workable movie. It's apparently like it just got worse and worse. Like Mulcahy got a draft and he's like, this sucks. I think the least complicated version of Highlander is probably the best. And I don't really think you need much else beyond the actual pursuit of being the one. I mean, that's also human nature. Like, you want to be special. You want to be the only person available. You want to be the best person you could be. That is the most human thing you could imagine. So for me, while no, it's not a great movie, I still think like those moments, like that kind of stuff, like Sean Connery is Sean Connery. If Sean Connery shows up in a movie and gets to be Sean Connery, basically do like a James Bond bit, it's fine. I don't give a shit.
It's fine.
Like, it's great. That's what he's here for.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect him to be for anything else. That's what I want. That's what I ask of James Bond.
There's that moment when they redo the Kurgan in the chapel scene where they're at Brenda's fucking grave. Yeah. And he's like, "Holy ground, Highlander," right? And Michael Ironside's kind of hamming it up. He's having a great time in the movie. He's fantastic.
Dude, he's having such a good time.
And they're talking to he's just like, like to bang mortals, huh? Dangerous game. It's silly, right? But he says, he's like, I was done. And then you brought here and you reset the game. And you're like, okay. But here's what I would ask people who shit on this movie, right? Because most people shit on the first part, right? The giant sets, the ozone, the aliens. Sure. The second half of the movie turns into the made-for-TV style sequel you would expect, which is them trying to they break into the prison, right? They get Sonny Corleone, and they wake up in the fucking morgue. I got shot 122. And he's like, 123, actually. They punch guys out. They're running around the thing. They get to this guy just in time to get the coordinates. Ramirez does this wild, right? He's like, everyone has life, but most men just watch it slip away drop by drop. He's like, if you channel it into one thing, you can do something great. And he, like, touches the ceiling. Yeah. And he explodes into a force thing, and they get away, right? And you're like, so you brought Ramirez back just to fucking blow him up unceremoniously again? Like,
he Obi-Wan. He was Obi-Wan.
And after that moment, when Connery's out, when the alien shit's out, when we get past all that, it's them driving in a truck to, like, the weirdest blue filter ever. They have a kind of half-ass fight on the truck. They get above the mountains. They see that the air's fine. They drive back to the fucking central tower. They have, like, a 2-minute sword fight. Right, where he cuts Katana's head off, and as he's getting the Highlander juice, right, he walks into the shield's fucking light beam, whatever, and he blows it up with his Highlander energy. Right. And then they're just fine. And we cut to outer space. And you're like, the second half of this movie is the made-for-TV bullshit remake that I didn't want, where it's just people going place to place and not having very good sword fights, right? Like, we lost the magic, I think, of Highlander 2. They should have stayed in that weird city. They should have stayed in the giant sets. They should have stayed with the aliens and the solar thing more than just doing kind of like a half-ass action jaunt. Like, I think if it really committed to the weirdness, I think this movie actually ended up better.
I mean, I think in the weirdness department, sure. I think the problem is like the stuff with like John McGinley where he's, where it's just like
Nothing. Useless
corporate
character.
greed and stuff. You're like, I don't give a shit about it.
None of this has any value to the movie.
I mean, like, the most disturbing thing in this movie is the phosphorescent white that John McGinley has on his teeth. I was like, that's weird. He looks like Max Headroom. It makes me uncomfortable. But, like...
It's also like, how did his teeth happen? How did Connor MacLeod learn how to build this? He was just a fucking Scotsman. Did he go to advanced college? We don't know.
Was just
did the Quickening give him knowledge? We don't know. We just see this Oppenheimer moment where he, like, presses the button, and we're like, oh, that makes sense.
That's it.
But then when you realize he's from an alien culture that did not have technology, maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
It's so uniquely unimportant. I guess like that's the way I would put it. It is uniquely unimportant. There's something about it that is just so meaningless.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't need any of the extra stuff. Like, this is the one movie that I would say I didn't need any of the extras. I just needed to get through the Highlander plot. The Highlander plot is what I want.
This is where I disagree. I don't need the Highlander stuff at the end. I want the weird. If you're going to go weird sci-fi, see it through.
Well, I don't
see it through.
I'm fine with weird sci-fi. I don't need like corporate intrigue or any of that bullshit. Like,
I
don't like,
again. Yes, once they start trying to do like, here's the plot you expected. You're like, no, you already missed that boat. You missed that boat. You're on a new boat now.
I don't need that one.
You're on a new boat.
It was. It's just so weird. And again, like, the ending happens so unceremoniously. When the movie ended, by the way, I was like, holy shit, that's the end of the movie. Oh my God. Like, it was just like, all right, well. Again, it's the same thing I said. It's the girl in gold was like, apparently it's none of my business. You just keep on making your movie. I'm just sitting here.
Keep on keeping on, dude. We talked about before the show started that Lambert lost part of his finger in one of the sword fights, right?
Yeah.
I love to think back to this moment where Lambert's sitting in the premiere. Russel Mulcahy storms out of the premiere angry, and Lambert just rubbing the nub of what's left of his finger, just being like, Jesus Christ, what have we done here? It's like, there's something about this time, too, where you get movies, and again, most people would say Waterworld's a better movie, but these big, insane movies, they have all the power and money of the studio behind them. Like, the sets on this movie are outlandishly amazing, right? And it's these big, dumb movies. Like, imagine someone greenlighting this movie, and they're just like, well, Highlander was good, so here's a fuckload of money to go make a new one. There was a magic in this era of getting these movies that were so much bigger than they had any right to be, right? I think it was Orson Welles who once said, creativity or limitations are great for your creativity. Some kind of paraphrasing of that, right?
Yeah.
This is what happens when you take away all of the fucking limitations and just say, do whatever. We greenlit it, right? And the studio did interfere eventually because I think they had realized the folly of their ways too late. But there's something magic about these kind of movies. I feel like we don't get these big, insane movies anymore. These kind of weird, like to Ebert's effect. This is an artifact of a sort to an era that just does not exist anymore.
Yeah.
And there's something fascinating about watching this movie.
Yeah. It's a time capsule for just, you wanted a sequel. You got a sequel. Like, we don't, not these days at least.
You made one great movie. Here's all the things.
Yeah. Like, we don't live in there's a lot of reasons we don't live in this sort of like part of the business anymore, but like, we don't live in this sort of era of, well, if you made one good one, I'm sure you could make another one just as good. Like, now everything is sequelized. Everything ends with this sort of like open-ended thing. This is a bygone era. Like, I wonder, like, I think about a lot of the time, like my kid watching movies from this time period and being like, I don't understand they didn't know they were going to make another one. It's like, no, like back then,
Highlander has one of the most slam the door endings of all time.
Yeah. They literally like ended your movies and like, hey, sure you don't want to make another one? It's like, oh yeah, I can make another one, Like, I think Batman might have been the first time I watched a movie that I was like, you could make another one if you wanted to. Like, there's other stories to tell. It is really like an era of just, hey, it's the end of the movie. Like, you think about like movies like Lethal Weapon and all these like Beverly Hills Cop. Like there's movies like especially cop movies got a lot of sequels.
48 Hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Movies that got a lot of sequels. You're like, why did they get sequels? Like perfect. Like because you could. Like it did well, so you go make another one. It is.
Don't
like
you love the idea that Highlander 2 didn't end that for us? Or would we be in a better cinematic place if Highlander 2 had killed the sequel?
If Highlander
it's like
2
only comic books and horror movies get sequels now. The rest of you, knock it off.
If Highlander 2 had effectively killed the sequel to an unsequelized film, what kind of world would we be living? Man, that'd be fucking weird.
Yeah. Did anyone want or need Gladiator 2? They just look back like, remember the Quickening? Veto, right? Use that money somewhere else. We're out. That's the world we should live in. That would be better.
This is something I say when people like when I think people had a great time with the movies. Sometimes I don't like a lot of movies that we see in the theater, and I usually say that movie employed people for a time and put food on people's tables. That's what makes it a good movie, and that's it. And that's fine, by the way. Work is work. I don't besmirch anybody. I work on fucking reality shows, so quite frankly, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks.
Yeah, we're making Mr. Cream Jeans hidey hole. We're not throwing rocks from a lofty glass estate.
Yeah, come on. There's no... But, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, who cares if it's good, if it's bad at this point? Like, the Quickening occurred and gave people joy. And still
I
does.
have a poster for it in the studio.
It still provides joy.
I like the bizarreness of this film. I do still, and I guess anytime I get to watch Lambert be MacLeod, anytime I get to watch Connery do Ramirez, I'm into that, man. All right, Alex, what's the most messed up moment in Highlander 2? The Quickening.
Okay, I've thought about this a lot. I do think, I guess for me, I think it's like the 10-minute Sonny Corleone scene. You're like, Jesus Christ, we get it. They got shot. Like, it is so much shooting. And then, like, he opens the door and there's another, like, 4 squibs that blow out on his legs. It's like,
yeah, he's got to get those roadie jeans.
Yeah. It's like, guys, what the fuck? Like, it was just, it took so much time. I guess that's probably, I mean, again, it was more just entertaining than messed up, but that was probably, I was like, all right, we got it.
When they wake up in the morgue and Ramirez is like, actually, I was shot 123 times. And you're like, dear God.
I thought that was fucking hilarious. And I was like, I cannot believe this is in this movie. I'm so happy right now.
Yeah. And Katana doesn't tell guys, hey, there's these 2 weirdos coming to the door, because they get to the front gate. And it's like, hey, who are you guys? He's like, I'm Juan Villalobos Ramirez. And he's like, the alchemist for King Philip II or whatever. And just one of those Lambert things I can't get enough of. Hey, first time in the desert. Which way to Vegas? And he's like, all right, wait there, pal. We're coming. And they just gun it. And I was like, this is incredible. This is insane. And Katana never called the security. He's like, hey, 2 weirdos show up at the door doing fucking Vegas riffs. Make sure you chop their heads off, not just shoot them 120.
Hey, by the way, there's a couple of weirdos that are going to try to pull their tight 5 at the Comedy Store. Make sure you chop their heads off. Like, no, just
shoot them
shoot them a lot.
So much. If I had to pick a most messed up moment, which I just think is hysterical, because clearly they just didn't want to bring Brenda back to the movie, it felt like. I don't even know if that was her under the stuff. When MacLeod, they're redoing the Kurgan in the sanctuary, and he's at Brenda's grave, right? And Katana's there, and he's like, holy ground, we can't find on holy ground. Ooh, you like to bang mortals. That's a wild choice. And we cut to MacLeod in a burn ward where it's very sunny. It looks like that scene in Exorcist 3 where Patrick Ewing and Fabio were angels. I don't know. Yeah, but he walks into this burn ward where they're all just on cots. They have these fucking bandages over their eyes and their skin's all peely. They're very ashy and flaky. They've been destroyed by sun radiation. But there's nurses walking around in like nurse clothes. Connor MacLeod's walking around in his Connor MacLeod clothes, even though now he's immortal who can die. But there's something about her just being like, save the earth. And him talking to this fried lady. And I was like, how many people died from this? Why is he at the bar and this gargantuan lady's bashing him over the head with whiskey bottles if he saved the earth? Like, it's just a very weird kind of... I think Connor MacLeod might be one of the most put upon people who's ever been in a movie. He's like 500 years old in this movie.
He's seen
and
some
you
shit.
Are like... And I do think Katana's right. Stop having relationships with mortals. Just get it in. If MacLeod used his vast wealth and bank to just get pros... he doesn't have to worry about this. Why does he keep doing this to himself? It really struck me. I was like, I feel bad for Connor MacLeod in this moment. The heart wants what the heart wants. It's tragedy.
You're not wrong. It is sad. I don't know. I got nothing else. That was exactly... What a fucking weird movie.
One of the weirdest. Thank you to patron Nick Brindlow for selecting this movie for us to talk about. He runs a fantastic YouTube channel. You can find it. I pulled it up. It's Candid, no spaces. Candid, capital G, capital C, capital S, capital E. He does these really cool kind of breakdowns of stories and characters. You'll like it a lot. Go subscribe
to Nick's.
It's
really great. I watched
really
it recently. It's really good.
Yeah, his Frankenstein one I watched and was fantastic. So go find Nick's channel. Support Nick. He supports the show. That means the world to us. One of our longest patrons I think we've had in the community. If you want to join the community, go to the Messed Up Movies Podcast Patreon page. Get your stocking stuffer picks in, man. Listen to the miniseries. Listen to the exclusives. Make sure you go find Misfit Parade on YouTube. Subscribe there. Find all our fun stuff. TikTok, Instagram. We're there. Come find us. Make sure you go to Indiegogo. Type in Mr. Cream Jeans because our movie's been shadow banned by puritanical zealots who couldn't send us to the future. They just didn't let people find Mr. Cream Jeans. You can get the perk where you can join the pod and talk about anything you want with any host you want. Help us make our first movie that maybe someday will also be an artifact to terrible movies on a long-lost distant planet.